Om. 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 Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Yovantah pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjeevayatyakhila shaktidhara swadhamna anyaushahasta charana shravanatvagadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam samacharana sarojan sandra neelambudamam Jagana niyatapanin mandanan mandananam Taruna tulasi malam kandharan kanjanetram Sadaya dhavalahasam Vitthalan chintayami Vitthalan chintayami. Can I start from OV 400?
401.
401? Vedantins hold the opinion that Atman is basic existence and its nature is knowledge. But to these people, this supposition is not agreeable. 402. They say that when knowledge at the time of construing the pot or the piece of cloth is definitely only temporary, how can the Vedantins hold that Atman is of the nature of knowledge? Are they not ashamed to contradict themselves? 403. In short, they argue that even in the minds of Vedantins, there is no fixed and confirmed idea about what is the real nature of Atman, and the idea of liberation is also vague, without any substance. It's a false idea. 404. They argue that what Vedantins say, that the joy of liberation is different from the joy derived through the sense organs, is also not true, because though people are having direct joy through the sense organs, they foolishly deny it. 405. Who can have any pleasure or joy without the medium of the body? What Vedantins say about without body is wrong. This is what the non-believers say. 406. They say that these Vedantins call the senses as false, the very sense organs through which they derive the joy. The talk of these Vedantins is like advising to have vision by carving out the eyes. 407. When basically God does not exist, the talk that God gives the fruit of own efforts, which is the opinion of stupid Vedantins, is totally baseless. These Vedantins propagate about Vairagya, but through that they are destroying the simple folk. 408. They say that these people hold a concept of God who has no space to live, no particular status, no power, and make propaganda that in order to attain that God, man should deny the fruits of action and give up the penance, etc. 409. About the knowledge, the Advaitis say that knowledge comes into existence in the body and that knowledge makes the body false. Has ever a fruit of a tree destroyed the root of the tree? The talk of the Vedantins is foolish like that. They argue, 410, Vedantins say that when knowledge becomes ripe, the whole worldly life is destroyed. But the world is a continuous permanent thing. How can it be destroyed? 411. If we accept the argument that by the knowledge in the heart of a man, the world is destroyed, we will have to accept the ridiculous argument that by the light of the firefly, the moon, the sun, and the stars will be burnt. 412. In fine, if we accept nivritti or renunciation, all our efforts for doing it are proved to be in vain because the jiva can never get any happiness without the help of sense organs. 413. So renunciation implies fruitless troubles. To be positively active in the world is the greatest thing. We should do all good works and enjoy the fruits which are also very good. 414. They are stupid who say that world and worldly life is illusory. Jiva has no other happiness except through practical worldly life. 415. That is why God's hope and desire to take the human birth. But foolish Vedantins criticize that birth. How can we agree with their argument? 416. Vedas have authorized karma, but these Advaitis have called these Vedas as inadequate and stupid. So he who will believe these people will definitely be destroyed. 417. The instructions of Vedas are greatest and the most ideal orders. But these people say that the instructions are false. So these people must be living in a fool's paradise. 418. The Lord said, the people who believe in rituals, etc., speak like this, as explained in the foregoing verses. They pose and put forward arguments after arguments and try to establish their doctrine. But, O Uddhava, all their arguments are false. 419. Now the Lord is showing how many disasters happen if the arguments of these people are accepted as guidance. And he is establishing the greatness of the path of renunciation with supporting examples.
एवमप्यङ्ग सर्वेषां देहिनां देहयोगतः कालावयवतः सन्ति भावा जन्मादयो सकृत्.
Meaning of the verse. Thus, O dear Uddhava, again and again in the course of time, all the creatures, because they are attached to their bodies, take births and suffer deaths. 420. The Lord Sri Krishna said, Dear Uddhava, please listen. All these opinions and views are not true. But if you ask me how one can understand the essence, I will tell you that you should consider what they say. 421. They say that on the path of renunciation, there are many troubles. But if you consider it, you will come to know that on the path of outward actions, there is more hard work. And the impending danger of death is really great. 422. Time as death is always working at its duty of destruction, beginning from the root of birth. And it is gulping slowly every second and minute the period of our life. 423. A thief in the sophisticated dress accompanies the traveler on the road. And when a solitary moment of unguarded listlessness is at heart, the thief loots the traveler completely. Similarly, death comes to a man at its appointed time. 424. Death does not spare anybody. He does not consider it whether a man is in the market, on the banks of a river, or whether it is evening time or dawn, whether it is motherland of his victim or he is in a foreign country. He consumes anybody and everybody. 425. While a man is going through all kinds of hardships in his outward activities, death strikes so suddenly and so severely that the other people get the rude shock of their life. They cannot express their fear except exclamations of the pangs of death, pangs of pain. 426. As the urge of passion is very acute in the man, he utters pathetic cry at the time of death. Save me, help me, I'm dying. Please hasten to save me. But who can prevent the death? Nobody can counter the attack. 427. The suffering does not stop at death. It continues in the world after death, and the man is put into the mother's womb, where there is a lot of hardship. 428. For 9 months, the soul is confined in the narrow sac of the womb, surrounded by fluids and all the intestinal contents of the mother. Mother's body heat is very troublesome to the child in the womb. 429. There are such things as blood, excreta, urine, bilious secretions, etc. around the womb in which the fetus is slowly developing. 430. The expectant mother has perverted taste for strange foods, bitter, sour, etc. At that time, the effects of that food are very troublesome to the fetus, which has not yet developed a proper skin also. 431. Parents are not aware what suffering the child has to undergo in the womb. There is nobody there to save the child. The soul itself knows its suffering. 432. At last, the soul in the child body comes out in the world through that opening of the mother's body, the name of which is not even uttered in public. 433. The soul comes out through that door, which is near the urine passing orifice, near the door of excreta, and which has a constant flow of monthly menses. 434. By mixing of the dirty blood of the woman with the semen thrown out by man, the child is formed in the womb and is born. but people call this human body as pure body. 435. Is there any more acute suffering than the state of the embryo in the womb? What the propounders say of the greatness of positive extrovert activity is wrong. There is no real happiness in the worldly affairs. 436. The suffering of birth and death is not over by one birth. Time makes a man take many births through the vagina. Many repetitions of this miserable existence are imperative. 437. The cycle of birth after birth and death after birth is going on and on. What joy is there? On the contrary, it is a series of miserable lives. 438. In the time from the birth to the death, there are tremendous calamities and vicious happenings, of which I shall presently tell you something. 439. It is like the example of robbery, in which when a man runs away from possible attack by robbers, suddenly the robbers catch him at the very street by which he is trying to escape. Similarly, 6 kinds of robbers waylay the soul during his life. 440. The faithful wives of the 6 vices are adhered to them, and they are like the 6 urges, like hunger, thirst, etc. So there is not happiness. So there is no happiness in outer activity or karma. There is only suffering. 441. According to the Mimanshakas, who uphold the karma as the main principle, Jiva is free to act. But that is a false statement because Jiva is actually dependent and not free.
अत्रापि कर्मणां कर्तुः अस्वातन्त्र्यं च लक्ष्यते भोक्तुश्च दुःखसुखयोः कोऽन्वर्थो विवशं भजेत्.
Meaning of the verse. In this case, the doer of the actions is evidently seen as not independent, and the receiver of the fruits of actions as pain and pleasure is also dependent. So what happiness will come to the doer who is himself not free? 442. Had the soul been free, he would not have suffered pain and would not have committed any sins. Thus, he would have been always happy. 443. The soul is poor, always dependent, who acts and becomes influenced by actions and their results. But the dispenser of the result of actions is different from the doer. And please remember that he compels the soul to suffer or enjoy the results. 444. Thus the God has the supreme power who gives the fruits of actions, and the soul is the receiver of those fruits as pain or pleasure, being utterly helpless and dependent. 445. When we see this actually happening, we notice the utter dependence of the soul, and that is the reason of his happiness or misery. 446. Nobody desires to suffer from sorrow, but pain and sorrow come to him without invitation. This also proves that the soul has no free will. 447. Even if we consider the Vedas and scriptures, we come to the conclusion that the soul is not free. And because he is not free, he has compulsorily to suffer pain, etc., without his desire. 448. There will be counter-arguments upon this. Those people will say that only those who do not perform proper and accurate action have to suffer. And those who perform proper actions accurately have not to suffer, but they are happy. 449. They will say that the expert persons who properly perform actions based on moral codes and yajnas, etc., rituals strictly within the proper method, will be surely happy here and thereafter. 450. Those whose sense organs and organs of action are sound, alert, and healthily perform rituals, etc., exactly as ordained, and derive joy and happiness in both the worlds. 451. That is their argument, but my observation is that even though a man of good moral behavior performs actions correctly, he is not sure to get happiness with guarantee. I will tell you in detail about what I say.
न देहिनां सुखं किञ्चित् विद्यते विदुषामपि तथा च दुःखं मूढानां वृथाहङ्करणं परम्.
Meaning of the verse. Even if the doers of action are very clever, it is not certain that they will always be happy. And it is also not certain that foolish persons will always suffer. To assert anything profoundly is useless here. 452. We see here in this world that those who are wise in the matter of right action, etc., are having a lot of discomforts and difficulties. And we also see fools who have not any idea about the action are happy. 453, neglecting the god Achyuta, who is the supreme deity in Yajna. People perform yajnas, Agnihotra, fire worship as a daily routine, and they get the fruits of their wrong actions. All is perverted. 454, fire, fire is one of my own manifestations. And the mantras in the Vedas are all my own seed mantras. The pure material and food articles which are sacrificed in the yajna ceremony are also my own manifestation. The non-believers consider the all-pervading me, the God, as nothing and perform sacrifices which give them the bondage. 456. They are well trained in the proper arrangement of the pots, vessels, and articles of worship in yajna. But as they miss the main deity, their yajna is not sacred. 457. As a matter of fact, all things offered in the worship of sacrifices are meant for the omnipresent me. But the ritualistic scholars do not think it proper because they are petty-minded and have desire. 458. Whatever merit is earned without offering it to me is sin only. And that is the sorrow. The merit which a man warped by selfish desire earns is like calling this poison by the name of nectar. 459. Not to come to me and to reach the perishable heaven is simply a nuisance, and the enjoyment which a man gets from that heaven should be treated as a disease. This sort of activity of yajna, addicted persons, is nothing but stupidity. 460. If there is some error or oversight while performing actions or rituals, the man should remember me, Lord Sri Krishna, so that the defect in that performance is removed by my name only. That is the power of my name. 460.
Beautiful reading. Please give your thoughts when you saw what you felt while reading.
So I think it was very difficult for me because, a large chunk of this read has been negating the Vedas and negating the rituals and negating those things. And in order to, it's almost as if it's an argument between chapter 3 and chapter 4, like karma yoga, karma sannyasa yoga, and karma jnana sannyasa yoga. And I think it is difficult, but I mean, some verses came out to me because I know that, 15, 20 years ago, I would, when I would travel from Singapore to India and family would see certain things of mine, and I would sense that they also wanted to own them, then I would take the effort of sourcing the same gifts, same items as gifts and give them. And then sometimes I would never hear back, even an acknowledgement. And one day I had a conversation with Jawar and he said, even if you're expecting a thank you, it is not a selfless act. And if you're expecting that, then stop giving. And I stopped giving for many years until I overcame that thing. And now when I give, and I give in a considerate manner, I give without anyone even remembering to acknowledge or expecting the thank you or anything. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, I still wanted to share or I still want. And that's the shift that I've seen. And I think I felt that that came through to me in this. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Sri Hariti. You want to share anything?
Yeah, I felt that the term that we use in Bhagavad Gita, like Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi, I think those were stressed in it. So anything that is done, any yajna that is performed has to be offered to me rather than having a desire of, so it clearly says that, so even if there are any mistakes that have been performed, everything will be cleared off. Any sins will be cleared off. So when we do everything as a offering to the God, and everything will become perfect automatically. So nothing has to be desired from our actions. In some of the verses I saw this.
Okay, I think you have anything to say? Anything to add?
It's good. What they say about death and that Ishwara Arpana Buddhi. That was really very nice, which is inevitable and
Mm.
I had one more thought to add, and actually, this comes from Swami Shukdevananda ji, because I remember this whole comparison between rich and poor, and many people who are not so affluent tending to think that those who are materially well off are somehow happier, and we all know that our internal worlds are pretty much the same. And I remember him saying that he said that he went to Bombay and he had met with these rich industrialists, and he said, people were getting their mithai over Diwali, and he said, but they had diabetes and they couldn't enjoy. They had 3 cars, but the drivers are driving them. They didn't have the pleasure of driving the car. And he said they were just sitting there in agony, all this money, but the inability to enjoy the fruits of any of that money. And he said, I traveled bindas on the streets of Calcutta, he said, and he said, I just imagined in my brain that all these cars on the roads are mine and these buses are mine. And when I want, I can get into any car and drive, and I can hop on a train when I want to and go in a bus when I want to, and I can walk when I want to. And he really qualified that state of liberation to me so well, through that, because it's true that there are so many times we meet, the worker category of people, and they barely are making enough for the day, but they're so happy. And there's so much to learn from that, that they have no bonds to the money, and they're not thinking of, because they don't have that. So they just work day to day. So I think there's something about that.
Beautiful point. Padmaji, you have to say something. You can unmute, we can't hear you.
Okay. In 460, yeah, to think of Lord Krishna, whatever it may be, whatever we perform, that only I liked.
Krishna, something to that stuff, please. Yeah, and his name has a house. So what has happened till 419 are the views of what other people say. So that's not what we want. And then at 420, Krishna says, see, whatever you have heard, these are different kinds of views, but let me help you to understand what you have. So whether the Vedas are good or not, whether this is there or not, whether the knowledge is permanent or not, all those were arguments. If Vedantins are. So they were not opinions of Santa Eknath Maharaj. Like people would talk like this is it. And how can I renounce, you can renounce the world. The world is existing only. See, so from one standpoint, it is correct. If we will take ourselves also, we have the desires, no? A better house, a better living standard, a better this, a better that. But because we think that world is real and what I'm going to enjoy is real. So because we have not reached. So from a certain standpoint of view, that is correct. I want in certain school, I want to wear certain, I want this education, I want my profession like this. So if the world was all very false, then why should I chase this kind of education, this kind of a living, and this kind of a house or this kind of a dress? No, we select what we have to eat, wear, behave, car, whatever we have that is. So the points are from what standpoint it is spoken. So from a Jnani's angle, the word, what are you sitting and enjoying? So when you mention Swami Shukdevanandaji's name, from his standpoint, it is also very mundane. And from our standpoint, oh, I don't have that kind of a car. I wish I would have it. So from what standpoint, that opinion we will have to take. That's why till 419, the sentences found very confusing whether what it is saying or. So it is views of other people. Then Krishna is now they are talking to Uddhava and he is negating what all it is and how we have to progress. See, we have come with certain vasana, we have a certain mental texture. I might get angry very easily at a certain point, which some person will not get angry at all on the same point. It's a mental texture. I might feel, oh, now let's talk about that latest movie. Why Mohanlal did like this. Some sense of patriotism, some sense of Hinduism, some like that. For others, let's just calm about it, cool about it. And you don't want to, you don't have. So when we go ahead, we express politically very severely, religiously very severely, and some others don't express that at all. So it is what to say, mental texture that where we get volatile and loose and where we don't. For same point, some others are not because we are having some inbuilt vasanas that attract. For my husband, okay, you sit and read whatever. While practicing in life, he is following like Vedantin, but not one single book of this, it won't come. Like when your husband said, you're expecting a thank you, then that's not a act. So that comes like a very profound Vedantic vakya. He may not attend any Vedanta class, but the life is full of the Vedantic actions and that. It's a matured matured status of mind. So some may require, all don't require crutches, right? Some require it. So till we are learning to walk, probably we will need something like that to hold on to. And then that also drops. So that's what is the point. That even eventually Vedas would get dropped. Then what is God? Like yesterday we spoke. Then what is God and who is God? Everything else would get dropped. So it's on a standpoint where we are thinking. So again, beautiful reading. Beautiful points are there. And I think we'll continue again tomorrow from 461. Beautiful. And we'll see. Let the points one by one. And if we like a certain point, we should pause to underline or mark it and keep, because in that reading, we get attached to some point according to our requirement, our attraction. Other may just read and go forward, but we might get stuck on a point. So we should mark those points so that on our mental texture we can work over there. Good. So we can
Actually, in
pause.
446, no, that nobody decides to suffer from sorrow, but the pain and sorrow come to him without invitation.
Yes. Yeah. Mhm. So again, no, where we have duality, what is pain, what is sorrow, and that only. No, if I'm not getting something which I want, I'll feel pain or sorrow about it or anger about it. Because I have given that something, a thing or a person some importance. For you, it may not be so. So many mangoes are there in this compound, and some houses don't have it. Those who don't have it will desire for it. Those who have it, it's lying out over there only safely, not even touching one single of that. So, where we are going is what we don't have, we search. But whether we have or we don't have, whether we like or we don't like, if if we can rise above our likes and dislikes and haves not, and go on the path which is right or wrong as per prescribed, that would be a better marga. So the middle marga is the best marga, but it doesn't happen like that. We will go by our likes and dislikes. वो आज भिंडी की सब्जी बनाई है, elder son will say. Younger, oh wow, आज भिंडी की सब्जी बनाई है. It's there, common scene in the house. What to do? You can't make everything in the same thing, no? Same parents to two children, but they respond differently of what you cook. Oh, you purposefully made for him because he is your favorite. I am not a favorite. Mental texture. You don't have even a thought in the mind like that. Mental texture. You have to deal with how that, and without getting up and down, just go and sail through it. Beautiful point. So
Because
the
of
pain
the
and sorrow is our
vasanas,
perception again.
is
Sorry.
it because of the vasanas?
Vasanas. Vasanas. And this like and dislike. Right? So anything we should not have strong likes and dislike. I like this person so much. Oh my God, I hate this person so. I like this political party so much. Oh, I hate that political. We'll not get only eyes to see them. We will get stuck over there. When the arguments go, then we will shun people away. That our oneness vision, what we have basically were trying, it will not come. So you see, youngsters, they have a boiling blood. After some time, we settle with that. Probably we were also having that. Why did you touch this? Why did you come into my... Probably we were also like that only in our teens. Now we are settled after 50s. But then we will settle more after 60s, when that wisdom dawns, no? Right? So all those behavior at a certain age looks very good. But after that, we are dropping all that. No? The favorite doll we are not still holding in our hand. But now we have a different toy in our hand. Now a different thought in our hand. That's the toy in the eyes of Lord, in the eyes of a jnani, we are holding a different toy. Not the same God. Beautiful. Over to you, Renisha, for the closing prayers.
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु थैंक यू
Your lovely reading. I love your tone. You're reading so nice across the word sound. Tomorrow who wants to read?
I was about to read, no? I was supposed to read.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead. Yes, you would. So 460. Hari Om. See you all tomorrow.
Hari Om.